Ever wondered what it truly takes to shape the world around us? From these huge cityscapes right down to like the inside of your home. It's definitely more than just drawing lines on a blueprint. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the Bachelor of Architecture, that's B.Arch, and the Bachelor of Interior Design, or B.ID programs. We're exploring not just what these fields are, but how a leading institution actually goes about teaching the next generation of designers, preparing them for getting in, for admission, and then the whole experience.
Yeah, and what's really interesting here is where we're getting our information. We've looked through a whole collection of university newsletters, faculty profiles, student publications too. Our goal really is to piece together a well-rounded picture for you. We want to highlight the unique teaching ideas, the real hands-on learning, and sort of the overall development that shapes these programs. We want you to understand what makes this whole area so compelling, especially if you're curious about the built environment or maybe even thinking about jumping in.
Okay, let's unpack this then. So we're looking at an institution that started back in 2000. It's approved by the Council of Architecture, affiliated with Sardar Patel University since 2016. What's the core philosophy behind these programs, the thing that really shapes a student's journey right from when they're thinking about applying?
Right. Well, at its heart, this institution doesn't see architecture and interior design education as just learning a technical skill. They view it as this really profound mix. Think art, science, social science, anthropology, history, theory, engineering, business, even poetry, mathematics, philosophy. It's all in there. It's fundamentally about developing these really complex problem-solving abilities, critical thinking, and advanced visualization skills. So it's equipping students not just to design things, but to actually tackle the big social, cultural, and environmental challenges we face. The idea is to cultivate professionals who see the whole picture.
Wow, that sounds incredibly broad, really interdisciplinary. And it looks like the institution itself is, well, really growing. We found mentions of plans for a master's program starting 2021 and the Bachelor of Interior Design course that started in 2019. It quickly grew to take in 40 students. Plus, there was this Council of Architecture visit August 2021, and they ended up getting 80 seats for the 2021-22 year. That's quite a jump. What does that growth, especially doubling the intake like that, tell us about how popular the program is and, the demand?
Exactly. Yeah, that big jump in seats, it really speaks volumes. Says a lot about the quality and definitely the demand for their programs. Makes it look pretty attractive if you're considering admission, right? And if you connect that to the bigger picture, the management also decided, okay, we need a new building. A dedicated one designed with its own resources and facilities to house everything: diplomas, degrees, interior design, the future master's programs, getting them out of their old shared space. So this physical growth, it really shows a strong commitment to providing comprehensive design education. They even have plans for a campus hostel down the line. It really points to this core belief that the learning environment itself is inspiring, that it's, the backbone of a signature institution. This investment in buildings, alongside the academic growth, it suggests a really thriving, forward-thinking place, designed to support students right from day one.
Okay, so it's clear that the hands-on studio stuff is really central. How does that integrated approach turn into actual skills students walk away with?
Well, the curriculum is all about continuous exploration. It blends research, analysis, visualization, and of course, practical experience. Students get thoroughly trained in the essential software tools, AutoCAD, Revit, 3D Max, CorelDRAW, Photoshop, PowerPoint, the industry standards. But it's not just about clicking buttons, right? It's about giving them the power to quickly test ideas, work together smoothly, and visualize really complex designs with a kind of precision that makes them stand out professionally. And the teaching itself, it emphasizes integration. Subjects are mixed together, not taught in isolation. This helps them build a holistic understanding, which mirrors how design challenges actually happen in the real world.
Right. Integrating subjects, focusing on studio work. Can you give us a clearer picture? Like, what does that actually feel like for a student week to week? Is there a typical aha moment in those practical settings?
Definitely. So students move through this really carefully structured series of design studios. Each one has a slightly different focus pedagogically. For instance, in their first year, B.Arch students might do a form-based studio. This is all about getting the basics, shapes, forms, how spaces relate. They might tackle projects like designing an Anganwadi that's a community child care center or maybe an art gallery. And here, they're grafted with fundamentals like anthropometry, the science of human body measurements, making sure spaces actually work for people, plus scale, proportion. The aha moment often comes when they realize how something simple, like say a Rubik's Cube concept, can actually inform really complex spatial designs. They also do shelter design, grounding them in basic structural ideas. Okay, moving into second year, B.Arch students get into a material studio. This is where they learn all about different building materials, their properties, how to use them. Projects here might involve designing, say, a performing arts center. They learn to develop concepts, but also tackle environmental stuff, like designing for hot climates using maybe a vault or a shell structure. You know, those curved forms. They're great for thermal performance and strength.
Oh, interesting. So climate is a big factor right from the start.
Absolutely. Then, by third year, specifically the fifth semester, B.Arch students are in an institutional studio. This really pushes them to design for very specific user needs. Complex projects, like an apparel institute, or even a center for the blind and physically handicapped. That needs more than just aesthetics. It requires this deep dive into human factors, really intricate architectural detailing. Another third-year thing is the Urban Insert Studio. This focuses on understanding how cities grow, specifically in local areas like the Anand-Vallabh Vidyanagar Karamsad Urban Development Authority, Avikuda. They study different kinds of development, from old walled cities to the edges, the peri-urban zones. It's about seeing how a single building fits into the bigger city picture.
Right, the wider context.
Exactly. And then in their final fifth year, B.Arch students have an urban studio jury. They really dig into understanding big Indian cities using both experiential and theoretical approaches, often analyzing urban blocks and different situations to tackle complex social issues. And for the B.I.D. students, their studios are just as practical. They might design homestays, which involves case studies and thinking about passive design for climate, or they could be creating an advertising agency office, focusing on working drawings, making functional spaces, choosing ergonomic furniture. The big goal across all these different studios really is to build the students' ability to use composition, to create an architectural language for sustainability, to analyze things like sun patterns, and to implement ventilation systems, both natural and assisted. It's about making sure they're designing spaces that aren't just beautiful, but also responsible and functional.
Okay, so the studio is definitely the heart of it all, where theory gets real. But how does this practical stuff, this hands-on approach, reach beyond the classroom? How do they make sure students are genuinely ready for the professional world, especially those hoping for a smooth start right after getting admitted?
Yeah, practical training is, well, it's crucial. Office training is really emphasized. The aim is to get students to appreciate every single step of a project, from the first rough sketch right through to completion. And importantly, to build strong professional ethics along the way. This gets boosted by regular talks with practicing professionals, including successful alumni. That gives students direct, real-world insights into what the industry actually wants and what the opportunities are. It's really about building that bridge from university to working life.
Okay, so office training, talks with pros. What about getting out there, site visits, these relative study programs? Where do they actually go? What do they learn from being on the ground?
Oh, they gain so much practical knowledge from those. There are mandatory site visits going to active construction sites to study materials, see how drawings become reality, and visits to historical places, too, to understand architecture from the past. Then you have the relative study programs, the RSPs. These are carefully planned trips to places rich in culture and architecture. For instance, they travel pretty widely across India and sometimes internationally, too. They get immersed in different architectural styles from, say, Mughal and Hindu designs in Orcha to the Portuguese colonial stuff in Dew. They might visit Jodhpur, the Blue City, to really understand its unique urban layout, or Jaipur to look at buildings by masters like Charles Correa and B.V. Doshi.
Wow, sounds incredible.
It is. And these trips sometimes go further afield, like visits to Sri Lanka to study Geoffrey Baller's work, understanding how context really shapes design. Closer to home, they explore their own state, too, places like Patan Madhera Sidhpur, looking at ancient stepwells, the Sun Temple, the unique Bora community architecture. But what they learn isn't just looking at cool buildings. It's focused on understanding scale, proportion, how materials are used, planning with contours, and how architecture really responds to the climate and the local people. They even visit construction waste recycling plants. So they see sustainable practices in action, connecting theory directly to, environmental responsibility.
Those RSPs sound genuinely transformative, bringing history and global ideas right to the students. But okay, beyond the academic side, the technical skills they pick up on these trips and in the studios, what about personal growth? What kind of personal development happens through these pretty intense programs?
That's a really important part. The programs definitely aim to develop a whole range of essential personal skills. Students really cultivate their ability to think creatively, to dream big, you could say, but also to evaluate complex situations, visualize abstract ideas, make solid decisions, and communicate well, both visually and speaking. They also develop patience, perseverance, strong analytical thinking. They learn to use those WH questions: who, what, where, when, why, how to really dig into problems. And presentation skills are constantly practiced, making sure they can explain their designs and ideas clearly, persuasively. Ultimately, this whole education helps students learn to turn challenges into opportunities. It builds resilience, which is so crucial for facing crises in a dynamic, often demanding career where you constantly have to adapt and innovate.
Right. It sounds like the learning really doesn't stop with just the main courses. What kind of research, what kind of innovation are students and faculty involved in? Are they pushing the field forward?
Absolutely. The institution actively encourages a strong research culture. For example, their faculty team got selected for the Urban Studio Research Project, USRP, by the Council of Architecture in New Delhi. That project specifically looks at the cultural landscape of Vadodara. They call it Changing Mosaic. And it's tied to addressing the Sustainable Development Goals. So they're not just studying things. They're actively trying to contribute to sustainable cities. Beyond that big project, faculty and students do their own research too on all sorts of topics, like e-waste management in smart cities, holistic design for sustainable buildings, using new materials like translucent concrete for energy saving, even analyzing historical styles like Indo-Theracenic facades. This focus on inquiry means they're not just absorbing knowledge, they're actually generating new ideas and contributing to where design is heading.
That's really interesting. And in our super connected world, how do they make sure students get a global perspective?
Yeah, good question. They have an international cell that actively works on promoting multicultural learning. This includes some significant collaborations, like one they have with Carleton University in Ottawa, Canada. These kinds of initiatives are specifically set up to give students that crucial global worldview, broaden how they think about design challenges and solutions beyond just their local area. It's about understanding that design problems and solutions often cross borders these days. It prepares them for a more international profession.
Makes sense. And what about life outside the intense academics? How do students relax, build community, maybe express creativity in other ways?
Oh, campus life seems really vibrant. It's full of co-curricular activities, festivals like one called Zestopus. Its recent theme was Vastavicta, an Inseparable Truth, which sounds like it got students thinking about current realities through their creative work. Students are really active in competitions too, including the big national ones run by NASA, the National Association of Students of Architecture, things like the Louisa Kahn Trophy, Industrial Design, the GRIHA Trophy for Sustainable Habitat. Their skills in documenting heritage have also been recognized at zonal levels in the Architectural Heritage Award. So it shows they can not only design, but also research and present findings really well. And beyond competitions, there are practical workshops, lino cutting, wooden joinery, and even really unique ones like Anuputi, exploring music, which aim to understand the link between music and architecture, really embracing that interdisciplinary idea again.
Yeah, I also saw something about student-led things like a pop-up market for their own creative designs. That's a fantastic example of, art meeting entrepreneurship.
Indeed, it really is. Initiatives like that don't just let students show off their creativity. They give them real practical experience in marketing and selling their work. Invaluable skills for any designer. And plus, the college actively connects with the wider community. They do career guidance events, visit local schools, put on exhibitions to show people the opportunities in architecture and design. It makes it really clear how these programs set students up for a meaningful career right from the moment they're thinking about admission.
So wrapping this up, what does it all really mean? Our deep dive, looking through the lens of this institution anyway, shows that B.Arch and B.ID programs are way more than just technical training. They feel like a holistic journey, one that shapes individuals, gives them this incredibly diverse skill set, art, science, social understanding, and really pushes them to engage critically with the world and, change it. It seems like it's about building not just buildings, but also building strong, adaptable, ethically aware professionals.
Exactly. Knowledge in this field isn't just something you understand, it's something you apply. The education stresses not just what to design, but why it actually matters. It's about connecting history and tradition to today's problems and looking towards a sustainable future. It's about becoming a well-informed professional who can pull together diverse information, connect the dots between different fields, and really foster creativity, resilience, and ultimately make a real, tangible impact on the places we live.
That's a really powerful thought to end on when you think about the huge range of skills they learn. I mean, sustainable design, preserving heritage, understanding cities, managing projects. These programs genuinely seem to empower you to make a difference, shaping the very spaces we all live and work in every day.
Which does raise an interesting question for you, our listener. Thinking about this comprehensive way of shaping spaces and understanding what people need. What future challenges in our built environment are you most inspired to tackle? And how might a path like architecture or interior design actually help you do that?